Hi, I'm Jeff Gonzalez, president of Trident Concepts, and today I'd like to talk to you about weak hand and weak hand only shooting. So let's start with some definitions. Your strong hand is going to be the hand that you go to for your defensive gun use. Your weak hand is going to be the hand that typically will support, or the weak hand is just not as strong as a strong hand. All right, so let's talk about weak hand style shooting. So when I reference weak-handed, what I mean is that I'm actually using a two-handed grip on my weak side. Why is that important? Well, as an instructor, I have a lot of left-handed shooters come to the class. If you're an instructor, you can't just tell that student, hey, do the opposite of what I'm doing. You have to demonstrate the technique off of the weak side, which to them is their strong side. So the big thing about being able to do that is that, number one, you want to be safe and competent. If you're trying to get them to buy into the technique, if you don't look like you know what you're doing, then probably buy-in is going to be questionable. But if you can do it both on the strong side and the weak side to a minimum level of competency, students are going to take that on and they're going to probably be more encouraged to try your technique. All right, so let's talk about safety with regards to our weak side shooting. It's going to be a little foreign to you. So you're going to want to make sure that you start off in the good old-fashioned crawl, walk, run scenario. So here when we talk about crawl, let's talk about how do I get the gun into my weak hand. So typically we're either getting the gun out of a holster, or in this case I'm going to be picking the gun up off of the table. When it comes time to pick the gun off the table, if I'm going to be using my left hand, I'm going to rotate the gun over so that I have a better chance of getting the gun. The first thing I want to do is I want to make sure that my trigger finger goes right to that home position. As soon as it's on home position, I can go ahead, reach underneath the gun, grab the gun. Now when it comes time to actually acquiring the firing grip, my firing grip is going to be the same, just I'm using my weak hand to do it. So I'm going to make sure that I have point number 1 on 5 points of our crush grip on home position. Point number 2 is going to be my weak hand pinky. Point number 3 is going to be my strong hand pinky. Point number 4 is my strong hand thumb. And point number 5 is my weak hand thumb. So everything's going to virtually be the same, and I'm going to apply the same crush grip that I would on my strong side on my weak side. So that part doesn't change. Now let's talk about how I would transfer the gun from my strong side to my weak side. So I'm going to start by transferring from weak to strong. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to first start by making sure I have contact with the home position. Once I have contact with home position, I'm going to open up my grip, pass the gun over, acquire the grip, and then re-grip the gun using 2 hands. All right? So when I pass it to my strong side, for instance, as I draw the gun out of the holster, first thing I'll do is start by pinning my trigger finger on home position, open up the grip, transfer the gun over, then reacquire my 2-hand grip. All right? Now, when it comes to shooting off the weak side, there are a couple complications. If you are right eye dominant, then you're going to want to try to shoot with that right eye. My encouragement is not. Go ahead and close your right eye and use just your left eye. It's going to simplify a lot of things. Remember, you're already creating a lot of newness by moving the gun to your weak side. Simplify things by just closing that right eye. What that'll do is that'll line up your left eye with your left hand, making it a little bit easier when it comes time for sight acquisition. Everything else is going to be the same. There's not a lot of change, there's not a lot of difference. Now, the only thing that I will suggest is to slow down and think your way through. Here's the wonderful thing about shooting off the weak side, is that it's so new, or it's got so little time, that it is an opportunity for you to train yourself with all the knowledge that you already have. So think about this. Right? You've been through a couple of training schools. You've been to the range several times. You've kind of developed your own technique. Great, that's awesome. Now, you get to teach yourself that technique on the weak side. And that means that you have to have a better understanding of what you're doing. The other thing that I love about teaching or working on the weak side is that it allows me to really refocus on the fundamentals that sometimes on my strong side, I'm not really thinking about anymore because I've kind of gone into autopilot. So here, I have to think my way through each of those steps, which means that when I move back to my strong side, I have that heightened sense of awareness about all those little details, and all of a sudden my strong side shooting gets a little bit better as well. So sometimes you can use your weak side shooting as a way to break a funk, to kind of get out of a rut, if you will. Sometimes you can use it to create hyper focus on your strong side shooting. But one of the things that I also tell people that weak side shooting is valuable for is the worst case scenario in that your strong side has been injured. So later in our filming segments, we'll get into how do I get the gun out of my holster using my left hand only because my right hand has been injured. So we're going to be using this as our jump point. Next time, what we'll start with is going to be the shooting component, and then we'll end with how to draw the gun from the holster. All right, I'm Jeff Gonzalez. If you have any questions or comments, please don't hesitate to post them down down below. I'd be happy to answer them. Until then, take care and stay safe.